All right, let's get right into it. For as long as most of us can remember, building software meant one thing: typing endless lines of code, right? But what if that whole idea is about to be turned on its head? What if you could build something amazing, not by writing code, but just by, well, describing it? That's the revolution we're talking about today, and it's all being driven by an AI called Claude Code.
In this quote from Scientific American just nails it. Software is becoming something you speak into existence. Think about that for a second. We're moving away from a world where you had to worry about every little semicolon and bracket. Instead, we're entering a world where the most important skill is just being able to clearly explain what you want. The AI takes care of the how. And no, this isn't some far-off future stuff. It is happening right now.
So what does this new reality actually look like? Well, people are starting to call it vibe coding, which I gotta say, it feels just right. It sounds super casual, I know, but don't let the name fool you. It represents a massive, fundamental change in how we make stuff.
Yeah, the term actually comes from Andrej Karpathy, who used to be at OpenAI, and the idea behind it is so simple, but it's also incredibly powerful. You just describe the outcome you want, the vibe of the thing, and the AI agent goes off and actually builds it. It handles the implementation for you.
Honestly, this is the best analogy I've come across. Think about what GarageBand did for making music. Before, you needed all this crazy expensive gear, you had to know music theory, it was tough. Then GarageBand came along and suddenly anyone with a good idea in their head could start making tracks. Well, that's exactly what vibe coding is doing for software. It's just tearing down all these huge barriers.
Okay, so who's the star of this show? The tool at the center of this whole transformation is from a company called Anthropic. It's called Claude Code. And let me be really clear about this. This is not just another autocomplete tool that suggests the next word for you. It's built on a totally different philosophy.
The key word you gotta remember is agentic. See, Claude Code isn't just sitting there waiting to suggest the next line of code. It's an agent. It's autonomous. You give it a big, high-level goal, and it can actually understand it, map out all the steps needed to get it done, and then go and execute that plan across the entire codebase. And this slide right here really spells out the difference. For the last few years, we've thought of AI as an assistant, right? Think GitHub Copilot. It's there to help you do the work faster. Claude Code completely flips that script. It's the agent that does the work for you. Your job shifts. You become the director, the project manager, the one who reviews and gives the final thumbs up.
So let's get into the nitty-gritty for a second. First off, Claude Code lives in the terminal, the command line. This is the natural habitat for a lot of developers. And its main job, not just finishing your sentences, but autonomous task execution. But here's the real kicker. Look at the context. It can ingest the entire repository. We're talking up to 1 million tokens. That means it understands how all the pieces of your project connect before it even thinks about making a change. That's a huge deal.
And the speed at which this thing is developed is just wild. Seriously, look at this timeline. In less than a single year, it went from a tiny limited launch to a full-blown public service. And then they even rolled out a desktop app and something called Cowork, which is a GUI for non-programmers. The evolution here is happening at lightning speed.
Okay, so that's all the theory. But you're probably wondering, what does this actually look like? How does a developer sit down and use this thing to build something real on a typical Tuesday afternoon?
Well, it all starts right here, in the terminal. That black screen with text that so many developers live in? And that's actually one of its superpowers. It meets developers where they already are. There's no clunky new app to learn. You literally just open your terminal and start a conversation. The whole workflow is basically this simple 3-step dance. First, you describe what you want in plain English. Something like, hey, can you refactor our user login to use this new security protocol? Then, Claude Code gets to work. It scans the whole codebase, figures out a plan, and starts making the changes. But, and this is the most important part, step 3 is you. Nothing, and I mean nothing, gets committed without your final say-so. You approve every single edit. You are always in the driver's seat. And check out this quote from Boris Cherny. He's the guy who created the tool. He said he went from using it for maybe 5% of his code to 30%, and then before he knew it, 100%. Think about that. Even the guy who built it couldn't resist handing over the keys. It just shows you how quickly this becomes an essential part of your workflow.
Now, make no mistake, this isn't just some neat new toy for developers. When you have a change this big, this fundamental, it doesn't just stay in the programmer's world. It sends massive shockwaves through the entire tech industry, and yeah, all the way to Wall Street.
So let's talk about money. And get ready for this number.
$1 billion. That's the annual recurring revenue Claude Code hit in less than 6 months after it launched to the public. I mean, that kind of growth is just insane. It's almost unheard of. It tells you one thing very clearly. The market was absolutely starving for something like this.
And you better believe Wall Street noticed. On one single day, February 20th, 2026, a simple feature announcement from Anthropic sent the stocks of major software companies into a nosedive. Why? Because investors suddenly started asking a really scary question. If anyone can just create the exact software they need by describing it, why would they keep paying for all these off-the-shelf tools?
But that was just the warm-up act. The real knockout punch came a few days later. IBM had its single worst day on the stock market since the year 2000. And what caused it? A simple demo. Anthropic showed that Claude Code could automatically translate and modernize super old, creaky legacy code written in COBOL. And that is a multi-billion-dollar-a-year business that companies like IBM have owned for decades. Ouch. And look, this isn't just financial market hype. The proof is in who's actually using it. We're talking about the biggest names out there. Microsoft, Netflix, Spotify, Salesforce. And then you have the giant consulting firms like Accenture, which announced they're training 30,000 of their people on this thing. This isn't some niche tool anymore. This is mainstream, big business adoption, and it's happening fast.
Okay, so with all this disruption, with all this change, it forces us to ask a really, really big question. It's a question about the very definition of a developer, about what it even means to build software in the first place.
And here it is, the question that's on everybody's mind. If the AI is writing all the code, what's left for the developers to do? Does the job just go away? Well, the short answer, at least for right now, is a pretty clear no. And that's because the AI still has real limits. It still needs a smart human to guide it, to give it the right instructions, and most importantly, to review its work. You can't just trust it blindly. In fact, journalists at the Wall Street Journal learned this the hard way. They tried to build a simple app with it, and in the end, they still had to call a human programmer to come in and fix the AI's mistakes.
So no, the job isn't disappearing, it's elevating. The focus is shifting away from the tedious, grunt work of typing out every single line of code. Instead, it's moving up to the bigger picture stuff, system architecture, high-level design, and creative problem solving. I love this analogy. The developer is now the architect, and the AI is the construction crew that goes and builds it.
And that really leaves us with one final huge question to chew on. As these AI tools get better and better, are we heading into a future where the biggest thing holding you back from creating something amazing isn't whether you can code, but just how good your idea is? It's a whole new world.